Hello, grade 9 students! Welcome to school year 2021-2022. I am Ma'am Romaine CALVO, a teacher from POLO National High School Division of Valenzuela. Today is a fun-filled musical day. But before we formally start, let me give some reminders of our social media etiquette. First, think before you click. Second, as much as possible, do not use all caps when writing in the comment box. Third, speak kindly. Fourth, make sure to listen attentively. Fifth, do not multitask. And lastly, always share useful and relevant information. At the end of our class, you will be able to first, describe the musical elements of selected vocal and instrumental music of medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque period. Second, explain the performance practice such as settings, composition, role of composers, performers, and audience during medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music. Third, relate the Renaissance and Baroque music to other art forms and its history within the era. And fourth, improvise appropriate accompaniment to selected music from the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque period. Before we proceed, let's see how much you already know about the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music. Without looking on your module, let's classify the following terms on what period they belong to, the medieval, Renaissance, or Baroque period. Write your answer on page 3 of your Music 9 learning packet, then let's check after a minute. And here are the correct answers. Don't worry if you didn't get all the answers correctly. You are here to learn those terms. Did you know that the earliest notation in music history looks like this? This is called the neume notation. What do you think the difference between neume notation and modern staff notation? You may type your answer in the comment box. If you answered the shape of the notes, you are correct. Generally, the shape does not indicate a specific note and rhythm, but later it developed by adding symbols to indicate changes in articulation, duration, or tempo, until eventually Guido de Arezzo, a Benedict monk from Arezzo, Italy, and one of the greatest music educators of medieval era, invented a modern staff notation. It is a tool for teaching the notes in a musical scale that replaced neume notation. Now, what is medieval period? It started year 700 to 400 AD, where the fall of the Roman Empire began and the early modern Europe arrived. That's why it is called Middle Ages or Dark Ages. It is also remarkable for the formation of the Roman Catholic Church that made a huge impact on Europe's culture and political affairs. Since the church wanted the music to sound the same, they teach by rote method, which means the teacher would sing the music repeatedly until the students had learned. They started writing music in 1000 AD, and their sacred music was known as the Gregorian chant, a plain chant which was believed to be named after Pope Gregory I. For the church, the word of God are more important, so the rhythm was unnecessary for their music. And during the High Middle Ages, or the 1100 to 1350, kings and nobles wanted entertainment that led to the composition of the poetry by the troubadours' music. These are the group of musicians that perform music in courts, and it is called troubadour music. And now, let's move on to the Renaissance period. It started in the year 1400 to 1600 AD. The Renaissance is derived from the French word renaître, meaning to be reborn. This is the period of reviving the golden age of Rome and Greece, where they seek the cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth. It was also known for bridging the gap between the Middle Ages and modern-day civilization. Most of the greatest philosophers, authors, artists, and scientists became the well-known in this era, such as William Shakespeare, the playwright who wrote Romeo and Juliet, Nicholas Copernicus, an astronomer who proposed that the sun is the center of the solar system, Galileo Galilei, known for the numerous scientific inventions including the telescope, and lastly, Leonardo da Vinci, who is known for his painting of Mona Lisa. Also, the invention of printing during the 1400s paved the way for a wide distribution of musical composition. The influence of the Romantic Catholic Church or Roman Catholic Church started to decline because of Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation. It is a movement that challenges the discrepancies in the Catholic Church, particularly in authority. However, sacred music was still the great importance, so the church continued to create music called Mass. Mass is a form of sacred music, which refers to the musical composition that sets texts of Eucharistic liturgy into music. Secular music became more popular in the Renaissance period with the emergence of Burgess class. These are called madrigal. Madrigal is a form of secular music. Madrigal music, a vocal music composition written and expressed in a poetic text and sung in a courtly social gathering. Now that you are familiar with the history of medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music, we will determine the characteristics of the music by describing its musical elements. But before that, it is important to review the elements of music for you to be able to analyze the music in the listening activity. First, we have melody. Melody, by looking at the musical piece, you can determine how the notes are organized. If the notes are simple, based on scale, or it has a large lip. Next is rhythm. Rhythm refers to the arrangement of the relative lengths and shortness of notes. In here, we will identify whether the music is in free meter or has a regular beat. Next is the structure or form. Structure or form is the plan or blueprint of a piece. We will describe the music if it is through composed or strophic. Next one is the texture. Texture is the layer of sound the music makes. In here, we will identify whether the music has monophonic or polyphonic in texture. Next one is the tone, color, or timbre. It is the quality of sound that the voice or instruments sound, if it is dark, light, or airy. Next one is the tempo. Tempo is the speed of music, either fast or slow. And lastly, we have dynamics. Dynamics is the loudness or in the softness of a sound. So here are the elements of music. We have melody, rhythm, structure or form, texture, tone, color or timbre, tempo, and dynamics. Are you ready now for our listening activity? Click like or type yes in the comment box if you are ready. Let's hear an example of Gregorian chant. The music you have heard is entitled Deum Baroque, a plain chant which is based in Latin liturgy. The phrase Deum Baroque, anim or trinate, translates to very God, one in Trinity and Trinity in unity. So what can you say about the melody of the song? Is it simple or ornamental? The answer is simple. The melody is simple. What about the rhythm? Is it in free meter or does it have a regular beat? The answer is in free meter. The rhythm is in free meter. What about the texture? Is it monophonic or polyphonic? The music has a monophonic texture. Now, let's hear an example of troubadour music. The music you have heard is entitled ROMAINE, from the musical play Jude the Roving at the Marriott, which was considered the earliest surviving secular play with a music written in French. It was composed by Adam de Lehel, a troubadour, and one of the oldest secular composers of chansons and poetic debate in the style of troubadour. The lyrics of the song ROMAINE or Rabbins poetically transfer translates to Robin loves me, we're a pair. Robin asked me so sweetly if I care, therefore, the troubadour music tells a chivalry and courtly love. So what can you say about the melody of the song? Is it simple or ornamental? And the melody is also simple. Very good. What about the rhythm? Is it in free meter or regular beat? The answer is the rhythm is in a regular meter or regular beat rather. What about the texture? Is it monophonic or polyphonic? And the answer is the music has a monophonic texture. Next, let's hear another example of mass music. The music you have heard is the first part of Kyrie eleison, a term which means Lord, have mercy. It is the only section of Mass that uses Greek text. So now, what do you think about its melody? Is it moving in wide range or small range? Well, actually, the music is easy to sing because the notes move in a small range with a few large leaps in a flowing meter. What about the rhythm? Is it in free meter or regular beat? The answer is the rhythm is in free meter. What about the texture? Is it monophonic or polyphonic? The texture of the song is monophonic. And lastly, let's hear an example of madrigal music. The music you have heard is entitled Fire, Fire, My Heart, composed by Thomas Morley, who was the most famous composer of secular music in his time. So what do you think about its melody? The answer is the music used imitation of voices. There is an imitation in the word fire. So what about the rhythm of the song? Is it in free meter or does it have a regular beat? And the answer is it has a regular beat. What about the texture? Is it monophonic or polyphonic? And the answer is polyphonic. And now, to sum up our discussion, the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque period are the first three eras of Western music history. Their vocal and instrumental music has different characteristics and features. In the early period, music was characterized into sacred and secular music. Monophonic plain chant known as the Gregorian chant, which started in the medieval period and is classified as sacred music because it was mainly used in the early Christian church. On the other hand, groups of musicians called troubadours performed secular songs across Europe. In the Renaissance period, madrigals were popularized because of the rises of the bourgeois class. And the Baroque period began after the Rebirth era, wherein the chorale and oratorio were developed. Now, let's see if you have already learned the music of the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque period. I will play two samples of music. Then you will answer Activity 2, items number 1 and 2 on page 8 of your learning packet. Let's hear the first music. Now, let's hear music number 2. If you are done with the activity, you may send your answers to your Mapeh teacher. Next, in our music class, we will continue the discussion on the Baroque period. And for your assignment, do the activity do-it-yourself instrument. Here, you will gather different materials available around you, then create a miniature of the musical instrument that was used during the Renaissance period. And let me end our discussion by this quote from Matthew Ricard. It is in learning music that many youthful hearts learn to love. With that, thank you for listening attentively to our class today. Have a good day, everyone, and stay